think we've gone through what we're going to be talking about. In the presentation, give you a few minutes to talk about the competition, what's happening in the marketplace. A little bit on that subject. Talk a little bit about the actual equipment, which we've got two examples here today. Talk about what's happening at the door. So what's being said, what are the questions, what things should our consumers be thinking about. Talk a bit about our ad campaign that we have in the market, and then just a bit about the business, and then again getting on to questions. Reality of the water heater business, up until 2008, a very quiet, some would characterize as a sleepy business. If you think about yourselves, the water tank is not something you give a lot of thought to. It sits in the basement. As long as when you turn on the shower or turn on the tap, you get hot water. Typically, you're not thinking much about it. It's working, it's functioning. If you have an issue with it, you'd pick up the phone and call Direct Energy or whomever your supplier was. You'd get it repaired, and life would be good. In 2008, we saw a number of competitors enter the market. We have some people who believe this is a good business, which we know it is, and they've chosen to come into the market and begin selling competitive offers. What we've also seen as a result of that, however, is a fair bit of confusion, and that's why we're really here to talk about what's happening. There's a lot of information out there, and many customers will call us after they've spoken to a competitor, and they're confused. They're not getting all of the information, or in some cases getting pertinent information or the right information for them. So really that's why we wanted to get with you folks to share some of that information, because we know it'll get out to the broader communities. And that's getting into 2009. What we're really focused on is that education. We understand competition will be there. No concern about competition. In fact, Direct Energy is out advocating for competitive markets in the energy realm. So it's not a matter of having competition. It's really a matter of having the right information shared with consumers so they can make an intelligent choice. And understanding what their options are is important to us. So we've been doing some things, including this event and others, to get to media outlets, because a lot of the folks in the media have been coming and asking questions about this, because they are hearing from their readers, from their viewers, from their listeners, and want to get the real information or the facts around the issue. We're also doing some advertising, so we have radio and print advertising that's in the market across the greater Toronto area, including as far west as Niagara, to, again, inform customers, talk to them about what questions they should ask, and give them some options if they have a question or concern, who to call, and how to get information. A bit about water tanks. The water tank, these are two examples of what we call conventional tanks. The appliance has been around for a long, long time. It hasn't changed dramatically over the years. Essentially, it is a storage tank that heats up water. So when you have hot water needs, it draws from that tank and provides the hot water you need in your home. Very, very simple. There are a couple of varieties. One here you see on the left is what we call a conventionally vented tank. So typically the exhaust gases would go up the flue, typically up the chimney, and out the house. Whereas the one there, we have a power vented tank where there's actually a small DC motor on top that would vent the gases typically out the side of the home. So two different varieties, but function very, very similarly with the exception of how they vent the exhaust gases. We also have tankless water heaters, which have become more popular, still a very small part of the market. There are, probably we would guess somewhere around 5% of the market overall today. And a tankless water heater, to put it very simply, is a much smaller footprint. It typically hangs on the wall in the basement, and it only operates when hot water is demanded. So typically when you turn your tap on for hot water, it would take a few minutes for that to pull some water in, heat it up, and supply it to wherever you're using it. So there are pros and cons to tankless. One of the pros is it is more efficient. Typically what we advise customers is with a tankless water heater you could save somewhere between $80 to $100 a year in your gas bill. So it is more efficient, but not dramatically more efficient than the storage tanks. What we find more often though is customers choose tankless for lifestyle reasons. One lifestyle reason is it's a very small footprint. So if you're looking to get as much available square feet in your basement for living purposes, then the water heater takes up a smaller amount of space. It's more compact. Another reason is if a customer has a large jacuzzi tub or something else that they're looking to fill up with hot water. With a tankless system, you never run out. It continues to supply hot water as long as you need it. So a couple of differences and a couple of things to think about when you're considering different types of hot water appliances. Last point I'll make is around maintenance. In our experience, storage tanks such as these would typically last somewhere in the neighborhood of 16 years. And depending on water condition, so if you have hard water versus softer water, how often how much hot water you consume or use, the temperature in which you like your hot water. So there's some different variables, but typically in our experience, a tank will last about 16 years and really requires very little maintenance. They're very simple appliances. They typically work. And one of the advantages, which we'll talk about, of renting with us, if there is an issue with the tank, you simply pick up the phone, or even a concern, you pick up the phone, call us, and we would come out and service it at no cost. Some of the things that customers have asking about. So we get a fair number of questions from customers based on what they're hearing from the competition out in the market, what they're seeing in media outlets, et cetera. Some of the things that they ask us about or they're confused by is their tank safe? And the reality is the hot water tanks that are out there are safe. What you'll have some competitors talking about really comes back to venting. So in the power vented tank, there was a change that happened several years ago with the specifications for the piping that's used to vent. Historically, the hot water gases or the gases that were coming out of the hot water heater were generally fairly low temperature. So the ABS that was used in the venting was perfectly fine to support that hot water tank. When the tank is replaced over the past several years, it's required that with the new units, because the new hot water heaters their exhaust gases are at a higher temperature, there's a different spec for that piping which we would put in when a tank is replaced. However, the reality is existing tanks that are there where they have not been replaced, the venting that's in there is perfectly safe. There is no issue around safety whatsoever. And if a customer, again, has a concern, we would typically go out, check to make sure that it's operating safely, and confirm that for the customer, which we do quite often. Another myth that we've seen in the marketplace, the competition are suggesting we have high rental rates. The reality is we very regularly review our rental rates versus the competition, and we look at how we match up. And quite honestly, for the most part, we are below our competition, but remain very, very competitive. So the simple fact is we are not high in the market. And facts, in this case, prevail, and we've been offering that to our customers as well to show them that. Another one you'll hear is you need to replace your tank because you're putting dirty water, you're bathing your children in filthy water, is another one we'll see in the marketplace. The reality is that is not the case. Water is drawn from the top of the tank. The water heaters, even if you accumulate some sediment, there are places in the province where you will have some sediment in the water that settles at the bottom of the tank. So it's not being drawn out in the water supply in the home. But the other simple fact is if a customer does have a concern about the quality of the water, again, by renting with us, we are happy to go into the home, check the quality of the water, and if a flush is required, we would do that for the customer. Efficiency is a big category we've heard a lot about in the marketplace. Energy Star. Couple things. Number one, a lot of the tanks we are installing, we are also installing Energy Star rated water tanks. The other reality for customers is the efficiency gains. So if you look at let's say a 10-year-old water tank versus a brand new Energy Star rated water tank, what matters to a customer, what they would be thinking about is how much is this costing me in my gas bill each month? So what is the difference, or what might I save? The reality in looking at what manufacturers have investigated and done research on, what our experience has shown, even going from a 10-year-old tank to a brand new tank, you're saving realistically somewhere between $2 to $4 a month is the reality in the savings. So we're not talking about huge, huge sums. You'll hear different things out there. Some of our competitors are quoting much, much larger dollar sums. The reality is the efficiency gains are not that significant. The appliance has not changed that dramatically in terms of the technology. So the reality is there's not a big savings in terms of dollars. Tankless, you do get a bit of additional efficiency, as I mentioned earlier. On a tankless unit, a consumer could save between $80 to $100 a year in reduced gas consumption, depending on how much hot water they use, consumption patterns, etc. Another one is around contracts. There's a lot of confusion out in the marketplace around, do I have a contract? Don't I have a contract? What's the structure of my relationship with? And in some cases, who am I actually working with? The reality is, Direct Energy does not have a contract. We have what's called an open rental agreement. So the customer does not lock into a fixed term contract with Direct Energy. If a customer chooses to switch, they have that option. We don't charge large exit fees or penalties for switching. Our belief is that a customer, if they understand the value they're getting from Direct Energy and they have all the facts, will stay with us because they're getting good value. But the reality is we don't have penalties should they choose to switch for whatever reason. And we don't lock them into a long-term contract, whereas many of our competitors have up to 15-year fixed-term agreements and do charge fairly significant penalties for the customer to leave if they choose to do that. And the last point I'll make is really around the experience in the marketplace. Again, I'm a firm believer in talking about what Direct Energy does, the value that we bring, and that's how customers should choose to stay with us or choose us as a provider. The reality is we've been in the business. The legacy is 55 years in this business. We have over 700 licensed, trained technicians across the province. We've got 3 of our folks sitting here today. Our average tenure for one of our technicians is over 14 years. I've been out over the past several weeks celebrating years of service with our employees, and it's probably one of the most inspirational things I get to do each year. We have people that, in every event that I've been to, 36, 37, 39 years of experience on the front lines in this business. It's a lot of experience, it's a lot of knowledge, and that value to me translates directly to our customers. And that's what I would say about Direct Energy. So again, talking about why Direct Energy, a lot of experience, long history, open agreement, no long-term fixed agreement, no penalties for exit. So certainly the right company to choose for hot water needs. This is an example of our ad campaign. This is a print ad that you'll see out there. We've also got some radio ads in the marketplace. And again, you know, the ads all really come back to, from my perspective, education. There's misinformation, there's confusion. We have the experience, we have the knowledge, we've been in this business a long time. We can be the authority in this, and we need to be the authority, and that's what this comes back to, is letting customers know there's some misinformation out there. If you do get approached, what questions should be asked? And really, there are 5 simple questions that we would encourage your constituents to ask. Number 1, do you have a contract? Very simple. If I'm going to do business with you, am I entering a contract with you? If you do have a contract, what is the term? How long am I going to have a relationship with you? If I decide that I would prefer to go with another provider, what is the cost to exit if I choose to leave? Do you have your own licensed technicians? And if so, what experience do they have? And finally, how long have you been in the water heater business? So really, pretty simple, pretty basic questions to get some fundamental information for the customer to make an intelligent choice. It's really what we're encouraging. And you'll see that in our advertising. You'll hear us repeat that over and over again in the media that we're doing when we're talking to customers. Ask the questions, get the facts, and if it's better for you, you believe that this is a better choice for you, we respect that. Again, competitive environment is a good thing as long as customers have the right information to make an intelligent choice. Really covers what I talked about here, so I don't need to go back through that. But so you can see those are the 5 questions. And I believe we've got that in the media packet as well.
Yeah.
Right. So again, some of this is repetitive what I've already talked about, but long history. If you think about what customers save by renting, so getting back to the notion of should I buy or should I rent a water heater? Just some quick stats for you. Last year, our customers saved $23 million by renting with us. That's the dollar value of service calls. If they owned the tank and had to call a plumber or an HVAC company to have the unit repaired, they would have spent over $23 million to do that. So our belief is renting is the right choice. It gives the customer peace of mind. They don't have to worry about the appliance. If they have an issue, they pick up the phone, they call us, we deal with it. It's all said and done. And really it comes back to that peace of mind, knowing that you're covered, knowing that you've got a company with lots of experience, qualified licensed technicians to support you if you have an issue. We're available via the phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and ready to answer questions, concerns, or again, if necessary, send out our technicians. And in any case of water heater that we're renting can't be repaired, we replace it at no cost.
Okay, so is there any sign for the customer to know that this is the right time for them to change the water heater?
Good question, Al?
It's got to meet your needs. I mean, if it's not meeting your needs, obviously that's the first sign. But obviously, water damage, anything on the floor in the general area of the water heater, obviously a concern. Volume, have your needs in the home changed? Do you have some grandkids living with you? Things have happened. Larger volume needs, obviously a time to assess it. But water quality as well. If you see a noticeable difference in the actual quality, rusty looking water, the inner lining of the tank might be wearing. It could be close to a time that the tank may burst or anything like that. That's a good time to maybe address it. Yeah.
Okay, so that means if it takes a longer time for me to get the hot water, maybe I can ask somebody to check my water heater.
Absolutely. It could be something going on with the tank. There are some internal parts that could be starting to become an issue. Yeah. And it could be a good time to check it. If it's something that can be repaired, the actual exchange of a tank, again, like Rob said, if it's operational, it's meeting your needs, it's really not a big issue. But yeah, if things change in the home, new home, smaller, baby boomers, empty home, just 2 of us now, you might want a smaller tank.
So there's no cost to exchange or upgrade our water heater?
There isn't a cost for that. I mean, in any home, there are situations that change. Sometimes basements get renovated in 16 years, right? Now there's walls in the way, things like that. You might have some things to address, but we keep that to a minimum, and we're very, very fair with our customers. I've had many situations where I've called people in authority and say, listen, it's difficult for them, we have this and that, and we're very, very accommodating. We don't just ram it home and say, this is what you're paying. Absolutely not. And we do the best we can to help it and make it an easy transition.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
When a customer calls and asks for help, how long is the average for the response? For a technician to come in?
There's a couple ways we look at that. One is if a customer has no hot water. So if we have a situation where a customer has no hot water, we have a metric we track very closely, which is getting to that customer within 24 hours. So our commitment is to get out straight away because we understand it typically also we do heating and cooling, same thing. If we have a customer without heat, same thing applies, and we watch that very, very closely.
What's the size of the water heating market in Ontario?
Total size of the market, we figure, there's approximately 3.3 million households in Ontario, somewhere in that neighborhood, and that's obviously growing as we, building new homes and so forth, but somewhere approximately 3.3 to 3.5 million households across Ontario. And, the reality is, if you have a household, you have hot water needs. Now, again, you may have different ways of addressing that, whether it's with a storage tank, a tankless unit, but the overall market's about that size.
If someone want to buy an old house, should they check the lifetime of the water heater before they make a decision to buy a house? If they want a replacement, what's the cost of replacement brand new water heater?
Yeah, I think if someone's going into, it's a great question. If someone's going into a new home, clearly you want to, typically most people have a home inspection, but also it's not a bad idea to get an energy audit. An energy audit would look at any appliance in the home that consumes gas or electricity, would also look at weatherization opportunities, insulation, things like that to see how efficient your home is. But yeah, good opportunity when you're moving in to look at the water heater and other appliances in the home. And if the tank that's there is not rented from Direct Energy, we're always happy to have customers call us. We can go in and install a new tank at no cost to the customer.
So that means all water heater supplied by Direct Energy are rental, not by sale.
That's correct.
So do you offer regular maintenance before they got problem calling in? I mean, do you offer like regular, like monthly or a yearly maintenance?
We're happy to go out. I mean, if a customer calls us and wants to have a service or a maintenance done, and it's not a rental tank, we're happy to go out and do that. But we don't actually sell water tanks. We do offer rental for customers. But we still, our technicians, go out on calls as well to do a service repair or to do a maintenance if the customer chooses to do that.
But they are only based on call, not preventive maintenance, something like that?
No, today we do offer preventive maintenance programs on heating systems and cooling systems. But our approach to that with water heaters is to offer the rental where you're not putting money up front, there's no cost out of pocket to you, we put it in at no charge, and you pay. I mean, I look at that rental as really the best preventative maintenance program you could get. Because if it has to be replaced, repaired, whatever happens, you pick up the phone and call us, and we come at no charge. Hi, I'm Rob Comstock, Senior Vice President for Services across Canada for Direct Energy.
And I'm Joshua Orzek, the Director of Communications for Direct Energy.
Can you tell us about what's Direct Energy?
Sure. Yes. Direct Energy is a part of Centrica PLC. Centrica is a British company, operates in the UK. We're better known in Great Britain as British Gas, is the brand that we operate under. We offer energy, both gas and electricity, as well as related services in Great Britain. In North America, we're known as Direct Energy. We also offer gas, natural gas, electricity in competitive markets in both the United States and Canada. And we also have services businesses in both the United States and Canada. We've got about 5,000 employees across North America. And in North America, we are now
about nine and a half years old. We're celebrating our 10th anniversary in 2010.
In terms of energy market, so what's the rank of like Direct Energy? Are you the market leader, number one market share?
The reality is we operate in Canada and the United States in markets that have deregulated. So some markets in both Canada and the United States still only have one supplier of energy, which is the local utility. In Ontario and in Alberta in Canada, in Texas in the United States, and some of the northeastern, midwestern states, they have the ability to have competitive supply, which we offer in those markets. So if you looked at competitive retailers, we are in fact the largest competitive retailer in North America today.
Mm-hmm. So you see, those markets from regulated become deregulated, then your company goes into that market.
That's right. We are a big advocate for deregulation because we believe it brings customers choice, more options, and fundamentally we believe it's the right thing for the market. So wherever we have competitive opportunities, we do go into markets and we offer, depending on whether it's just electricity or natural gas, either one or the other or both.
So in those deregulated market, what's the competitive edge from Direct Energy?
That varies by market. I mean, the one thing that in North America is every market is very different in terms of the rules, in terms of what we're able to offer. The big reason for choosing Direct Energy in our mind is the experience that we have in energy, the choice that we can offer to customers. So again, it comes back to the same conversation we had earlier. It's giving the customers the right information so they can understand the energy market and then make an intelligent choice for them. And that's what we endeavor to do in the markets we operate.
It really, truly is about choice. So if in a regulated market, you only have one choice when it comes to your electricity or gas, whereas in a deregulated market, what direct energy does is gives people different options depending on what their own needs are for their gas and electricity.